Thank you for your interest in the COMET-Farm tools. My name is Andy Conlin, and I am the Outreach and Education Specialist for Colorado State University's COMET-Farm team. In this video, I will be demonstrating how to create a project, select accounting activities, and draw fields for the cropland management section of COMET-Farm. More specifically, I'll be demonstrating how to create a new project using the hypothetical Chico State Carbon Farm Plan for reference. If you have not reviewed the introductory videos on how to create an account or navigate COMET-Farm, please watch those first before proceeding. Now that we've created an account, I'm going to go ahead and log in, and that is going to bring me to my projects page. This is where every project that I've created is going to be housed. For the folks who are brand new to the tool, you're likely going to have a singular project called Project 1 that by default will be created for you. Anytime you're navigating the COMET-Farm page, you can always come back to projects by using the Projects tab in the upper right-hand corner. You can sort your projects by date accessed. You can also sort them by name, and you can also get a preview of what accounting activities are included in your project by seeing the icons here. At the bottom of this panel, this is where we'll eventually be hitting New Project to create a project from scratch, but I do want to show you where you can find demo projects. As I mentioned in our previous videos, demo projects are pre-populated with all the data that is needed to run a report. So that allows you to navigate through the tool without actually entering any management data. This is also where you'll have the option to import a project as well as perform a bulk action on projects. This is pretty much limited to exporting and deleting projects, but you can do it to multiple at the same time rather than one at a time. For the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and dive right into creating a new project from scratch. So we'll go down to the bottom, hit New Project. First step, plain and simple, is just to name your project. So I'm going to call this Chico State Carbon Farm Planning Demo. And then you want to select the accounting activities that are going to be included in your project. This can be just one, this can be all four. In our particular circumstance, we're going to do cropland, animal ag, and agroforestry. Now, because I selected the cropland, pasture, range, orchard, vineyards accounting activity, I'm going to get this next prompt, which is to establish your baseline years. COMET-Farm does require a minimum of 5 years of a baseline period, and when I use the term baseline, I'm referring to your current management, your business as usual, prior to making a management change. So, because it requires a 5-year minimum, the latest that you can select for that start year is going to be 2018 because it's assuming this will go up until 2024. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and, for this hypothetical scenario, say that I acquired the land in 2012, and for my baseline end year, I'm going to say I still have it up to till this day. I've had it up until 2024. But of course, you're welcome to choose whatever baseline period is most appropriate to your circumstance. Once you hit Enter Management, COMET-Farm is going to default to having you begin with the cropland module. And the first thing we want to do here is define our fields. You'll see this pop-up box allowing you to search for your field, and in this box you can enter a city, a zip code, latitude, longitude. In this case, again, because we're using the Chico State Carbon Farm Plan as reference, we're just going to type in Chico, California. I did have access to the Chico State Carbon Farm Plan.kmz file, so I've opened that in as a Google Earth project for reference, and you'll notice that there are cropland projects, orchards, pastures included in this project. For the sake of simplicity, in COMET-Farm, I'm just going to include one pasture, one crop area, and one orchard. Any land that's managed differently, meaning different crops are growing, the land is managed differently, should be considered separate fields in COMET-Farm. But again, for today, we're just going to go with those three. Once I've gotten my map area to the right location, there are a couple different ways that you can define your fields. The first one I'll be demonstrating is the Draw Polygon feature. This one is a favorite of mine because it allows you to navigate around any areas that you don't want to include in your field. So you can see in this particular example, up in the kind of upper left-hand corner, there's a fraction of the field that I don't want included in my project because it's housing or non-agricultural land. and this is for my orchard field. Using the polygon feature allows me to drop vertices so that I'm not including that in my parcel. For this next field, I'm going to use the draw polygon feature again, so I'm going to put the video on 2x speed so we can kind of zoom through that, but you'll see I'm going to use this feature again to drop a orchard, a pasture, and a crop section. Again, you'll notice that I'm using the draw polygon feature for all 3 of these fields, but in just a moment I'll be demonstrating the alternate options for defining your fields. So I'm just going to scroll over to this open area, and this is where you can draw a rectangle. So in that case, all you're going to do is click in a corner and drag your cursor out, and that will create a rectangle. Similarly, we have a draw circle component that allows you to kind of click in the middle and pull your cursor out, and that will create a circle around that point where you click. And then lastly, we have a drop point feature. What this does is this is ideal for people who may not know the exact boundaries of their field. And so you can drop a point in an area, and then it will ask not only for you to name your field, but also provide the acreage of that field. And what it'll end up doing is actually dropping a circle around that point. But again, if you don't know your exact boundaries, that's probably the best option. We also have the option to upload a GIS file. This will include shape files and .kmz files. While we're not going to walk through how to do that today, the Need Help widget does include an article that will provide step-by-step guidance on how to do that. The last thing I want to talk about is you might notice in the panel on the right-hand side that as you add fields to that table, it's counting your fields out of 50, and that's because we do include a limit of 50 fields in COMET-Farm. That's because on this page, COMET-Farm is pulling in information from the Surgo soil database to create soil map units. It will throw an error if you include any non-agricultural land, such as any housing or water. You can view the soil map units that are included in your fields by hitting the Map View button and then the Soils button. What COMET-Farm is going to do is run models on every map unit in your field and then provide a weighted average in your report. What that means is the more map units you have included in your project, which corresponds to the greater number of fields, the bigger those fields are, as well as later on when we talk about scenarios, the higher the number of scenarios you have, the longer it will take for your report to generate. So by including this cap of 50 fields, we're just trying to avoid an instance in which you're sitting there waiting for your project to run for a long period of time. Again, it's kind of an arbitrary cap of 50 because if you did include only 3 fields, but they're each 1,000 acres, then we're probably going to have a similar problem. So just keep that in mind as you are creating your project. Once you feel good about where your fields are located, you can hit Finish Defining Fields, and in the next video we'll talk over entering our historic management and our baseline management. Thanks.